Wilfred was having the weirdest dreams. His mother and young sister were chilling in some deep mystical abyss, looking up at him as if to say, "Hey, we're down here sinking in a shipwreck, but no big deal." The catch? They were down there because apparently his existence demanded their aquatic demise. It was like a tragic family vacation gone wrong. His subconscious was practically putting on a Shakespearean tragedy, or at least that's what Wilfred thought upon waking up to the annoying blare of the telescreen. If only they had streaming services in Oceania, he could have binge-watched something less existential. But no, it was 7:15 a.m., time for Wilfred's favorite part of the day, physical jerks. Who needs privacy and free will when you can contort your body to the rhythm of a disembodied voice? The joys of a totalitarian workout routine. As Wilfred gasped for air, doubled up from a coughing fit that could rival a heavy metal concert, he couldn't help but marvel at the genius of Newspeak. The party had not only altered history, but obliterated it. Wilfred struggled to remember a time when he didn't suffer under the ever-watchful gaze of Big Brother. The good old days of motor cars and strange cylindrical hats. 6079, Wilfred! "Bend lower, please," screeched the instructor, the undisputed queen of physical jerks. In Wilfred's world, where pajamas were a luxury, bending over was a momentous occasion. And behold, he touched his toes, knees unbent. It was practically an Olympic feat for someone over 35 in this dystopian circus. As he contorted himself into shapes that would make a yoga instructor cringe, Wilfred wondered if George Orwell had ever considered the comedic potential of a regime so obsessed with toe-touching. Perhaps dystopia and dry humor were the ultimate odd couple. And so the day in Oceania began. A symphony of forced exercises and historical amnesia, conducted by the omnipresent Big Brother, with Wilfred as an unwitting participant in this absurd comedy of oppression. Wilfred, in his dream, found himself pondering the mystery of his mother's disappearance. She was a statuesque woman with magnificent calf muscles, vanished during the great purges of the 50s. In this subterranean dream sequence, his mother and a young sister, whom he barely remembered, were sinking in a ship's saloon. They stared up at him from the darkening water, a tragic scenario. But Wilfred couldn't help but wonder about the sinking ship's choice of interior decor. Suddenly, he was transported to the golden country, a rabbit-bitten pasture. A girl with dark hair approached, shedding her clothes with disdain. Wilfred admired not her body, but the dramatic flair with which she discarded her garments as if declaring war on cultural norms. The dream climaxed with a Shakespearean awakening as the telescreen bled the start of another day. Wilfred was rudely awakened to the dystopian reality of clothing coupons and morning physical jerks. As he doubled up in a coughing fit, he couldn't help but long for the golden country's laissez-faire attitude toward clothing. The instructress, scrawny but muscular, led the morning exercise, barking orders with zealous enthusiasm. As Wilfred mechanically moved through the motions, he contemplated the erasure of the past and the party's mastery of reality control. The present moment, painful lung-emptying coughs included, became a battleground for the mind. "Stand easy!" barked the instructress, interrupting Wilfred's mental gymnastics. Little did she know, he was already a doublethink champion. In the wild dance of physical jerks, Wilfred's mind pirouetted through the hallways of doublethink. The instructor's orders to touch their toes felt like an invitation to revisit the rebellion of the golden country against gravity, a time when even physics dared to defy the party. As the instructor waved her arms, Wilfred's mind grappled with the elusive Big Brother. The party had not only rewritten history, but turned it into a bedtime story for insomniac citizens. When had he first heard of Big Brother? Sometime in the 60s, he suspected, though the specifics were as hazy as a cat in a foggy alley. "Smith!" screeched the telescreen, snapping Wilfred back to the present. His face remained a fortress of stoicism, concealing the chaotic brainstorm within. "Smith!" screeched the telescreen. 6079. "Smith W." "Yes, you! Bend lower, please. You can do better than that. You're not trying. Lower, please." The instructor's words played out, mixing with Winston's contemplation on the party's gymnastics with truth. As the exercise continued, Wilfred's body struggled against the commands. Yet his mind contorted even further, envisioning war-torn yoga mats, shifting alliances in aerobics class, and the party's quest for absolute control over both squats and synapses. The instructress's encouragement to imitate her physical prowess morphed into a satirical comedy, a vaudeville act where intellectual conformity was the punchline and truth was the quirky sidekick trying to fit into a tight leotard. The physical jerks continued, a symphony of strained grunts and synchronized awkwardness. Wilfred, like a rebellious puppet, jerked and jived, dancing on the precipice of orthopedic calamity. The instructor's exuberance painted a canvas of militant calisthenics, a spectacle where the ministry of truth morphed into the ministry of flexibility. As the instructor led the squad in a bodily ballet, Wilfred's thoughts pirouetted into absurdity. The party's relentless alteration of the past seemed less like history revision and more like a poorly orchestrated jazz routine, where truth was just a misunderstood saxophone lost in the dissonance of party propaganda. "Stand easy," the instructor barked, and Wilfred, beads of sweat attempting an escape from his rebellious forehead, stood at a parody of ease. The pain from the exercise was a comedic overture, a slapstick reminder that even discomfort was subject to the party's choreography. The instructor, her face a monument to physical prowess, extolled the virtues of touching toes as if it were the key to unlocking Orwellian enlightenment. Wilfred, caught between a cough and a chuckle, marveled at the irony. In the world of Oceania, where truth was a contortionist and facts were doing somersaults, touching one's toes seemed a trivial rebellion. As the instructor encouraged the squad with the fervor of a televangelist selling aerobics DVDs, Wilfred's mind crafted a stand-up routine for Room 101, a comedy hour in the ministry of love. If laughter was a thought crime, Wilfred was on the verge of becoming a comedic revolutionary. The absurdity of the moment, the incongruity of physical exertion in a world of intellectual oppression, struck Wilfred as the punchline to a cosmic joke, and as he tried to catch his breath in a room filled with the heavy air of doublethink, he wondered if someday, somewhere, the joke would be on the party. The telescreen's shrill whistle heralded the end of the physical jerks, leaving Wilfred gasping for breath and mentally applauding the party for turning exercise into a form of dystopian entertainment. As he scrambled to put on the meager garments allotted by the clothing coupons, a fashion statement in the world where style was synonymous with scarcity, he pondered the irony of a regime that valued fitness while suffocating free thought. In the aftermath of his acrobatic escapade, Wilfred's mind drifted back into the labyrinth of doublethink. The party's control over history, they rewrote the script, and everyone was expected to play their part, even if it meant tap dancing on the graves of inconvenient truths. The instructor, her militant demeanor not yet exhausted, rallied the squad for the next act, a theatrical masterpiece of synchronized lunges and bureaucratic ballet. Wilfred, now attired in the fashion-forward ensemble of an outer party member, pondered the tragicomedy of a society where physical fitness was a virtue and mental acrobatics were the real test of loyalty. As the squad lunged and stretched, Wilfred couldn't help but envision a world where Big Brother hosted a fitness reality show, with the Thought Police as judges and Room 101 as the dreaded elimination round. The absurdity of the mental gymnastics required for survival in Oceania unfolded like a sitcom, with each citizen playing the unwitting protagonist in a tragic farce. The party's manipulation of reality, Wilfred realized, was not just an ideological wrestling match, but a grand theatrical performance where truth was a flexible contortionist, bending to the whims of the powerful. In the grand theater of Oceania, the audience was both captive and complicit, applauding the party's narrative while secretly yearning for an encore of unfiltered reality. And as the physical jerks reached their crescendo, Wilfred, a reluctant actor in this Orwellian play, couldn't help but wonder if someday the curtain would fall on the party's performance, revealing the farce behind the facade of absolute power. The physical jerks concluded with a collective panting, a symphony of strained breaths that echoed through the dreary corridors of Victory mansions. Wilfred, caught between the absurdity of exercise and the gravity of his contemplations, couldn't shake off the feeling that the world outside this orchestrated spectacle was slipping away like a banana peel in a slapstick comedy. The instructor, still radiating enthusiasm for the joys of physical exertion, dismissed the squad with a cheerful reminder to maintain their fitness for the party's greater good. Wilfred, adjusting his dingy singlet and shorts, shuffled with the obedient gait of one who knew that even a misstep could be a punishable offense. In the sardonic comedy of Oceania, where every gesture carried the weight of conformity, Wilfred found himself a pawn in a farcical game. As he navigated the corridors, he couldn't help but imagine the absurdity of a world where citizens competed for the title of most devoted party follower, complete with medals for mental gymnastics and synchronized propaganda consumption. The familiar face of Big Brother loomed large on the posters lining the walls, a constant reminder that in this slapstick dystopia, surveillance was both a punchline and a punch to the gut. Wilfred, like a character caught in a comedic loop, wondered if the telescreens ever hosted sitcoms, and where the Ministry of Truth produced the most popular show, Alternative Facts and the City. Exiting the exercise chamber, Wilfred encountered his fellow citizens, their expressions a blend of weariness and forced enthusiasm. In the comedic tragedy of Oceania, exhaustion was a mark of loyalty, and genuine laughter was a rare commodity. As he joined the procession of automatons heading to their assigned tasks, Wilfred couldn't suppress the desire for a punchline that would break the monotony of the party's scripted reality. Little did he know that the real punchline awaited him, hidden in the shadows of room 101, where the humor of Oceania's absurdity would collide with the gravity of his deepest fears. Wilfred, having maneuvered through the labyrinthine corridors of Victory mansions, found himself at his cubicle in the Ministry of Truth, the workplace, with its austere atmosphere and surveillance cameras that seemed more like hidden cameras on a prank show, embodied the party's commitment to bureaucratic absurdity. As he settled into the monotony of his duties, Wilfred couldn't help but envision the office as a stage where the most lackluster play ever written. The characters, mere puppets of the party's propaganda machine, delivered lines that were both farcical and tragic. The printer hummed like a deadpan comedian, spewing out rewritten history that would have made even the most imaginative writers blush. In this surreal sitcom, Wilfred was a minor character caught in the crossfire of comedic misinformation. His interactions with colleagues resembled a poorly scripted comedy sketch, and where every word uttered was a carefully crafted punchline, designed to reinforce the party's version of reality. Meetings felt like open mic night, with employees competing for the best delivery of doublethink. During the mandatory 2 minutes hate, the entire office transformed into a theater of absurdity, a place where employees unleashed their suppressed frustrations in a cacophony of rage directed at the designated enemy of the day. Wilfred, wearing the obligatory expression of indignation, wondered if anyone else found the whole spectacle as ludicrous as he did. As he shuffled papers, redacting and altering historical documents, with the finesse of a stand-up comedian tweaking punchlines, Wilfred contemplated the absurdity of a world where the past was a constantly evolving joke. He half expected a laugh track to accompany the ludicrous narratives he helped perpetuate, but the only soundtrack was the incessant hum of the party's propaganda machinery. In this tragicomic dystopia, where humor and horror coexisted seamlessly, Wilfred couldn't escape the feeling that he was the protagonist of a cosmic joke, a pawn in a game where reality itself was the punchline. Little did he know that the greatest twist awaited him, a revelation that would shatter the illusion of control and plunge him into the darkest depths of Oceania's comedic nightmare. As Wilfred continued his absurd journey through the bureaucratic maze, he stumbled upon a peculiar room tucked away in the Ministry of Truth. A sign on the door proclaimed it as the Department of Ridiculous Redundancy. Intrigued by the absurdity of such a department, Wilfred cautiously entered. To his surprise, The room was filled with employees, engaged in the most absurd tasks imaginable. One person meticulously counted the number of times the word doublethink appeared in official documents, while another enthusiastically debated the most effective way to rewrite a rewritten history. The atmosphere was a peculiar blend of solemnity and hilarity. Even the memory of his mother and sister, drowned in the depths of his subconscious, couldn't escape Wilfred's dry humor. In his dreams, they resided in a peculiar underwater saloon, engaging in a water ballet while exchanging disapproving glances at his inability to swim. As the days unfolded, Wilfred found solace in the subversive power of humor, a weapon that, unlike rebellion, could slip through the cracks undetected. Little did he know that laughter, even in the face of oppression, possessed a resilience that could defy the somber reality painted by the party.